It looks really big. It's just broken down really small. So we're going to go over our preamble today. We're not going to go over the full preamble, just like the bullet points. The articles of assembly will also be linked in this document. I will provide that as well so that it can be linked so that you guys can in the notes so that you can see it. So you can see the full preamble. So we're going to go over the like tenets of our preamble, our purpose, our nonprofit status, what that means for the guild, membership eligibility, application process, which will probably be our most like in-depth section. It was when we were building it. Membership categories, membership expectations, dues, which we are not going to worry about, I think, until 2026. Standards and reviews, fortune administration, the governance structure, and then meetings. Okay. So our preamble. Our mission within our preamble is to preserve and celebrate North American folklore. Within the document, the way that folklore is defined is like contemporary artistic creations made by the people for the people, not in like the religious sense or like in the government sense, but just like in the sense of like it's made by people about their experiences. And it also talks about our values, which are honesty, trustworthiness, compassion, and love. So whenever it comes to referencing like what is the Fiction Force values and is it in alignment with us, honesty, trustworthiness, compassion, and love are what we are referring to. Commitment, which our commitment here at the Guild is equitable compensation, fairness, and uplifting marginalized voices. So essentially helping to support the marginalized artistic working class. Does anybody have any questions about that preamble?
No.
Thank you, Drew. I appreciate that. All right, the Guild's purpose. Our primary goal is to support and promote contemporary North American folklore. So this is stories that, again, are culturally relevant, written by people about the cultures that they are experiencing. So this, for example, would be a contemporary book written by somebody about their experiences. While it's not autobiographical, it is semi-biographical, meaning that they are writing about cultures and contexts that are relevant to the experiences that are happening. To further this example, it would be like someone writing about a assassination attempt of a person who is running for presidency who is not well liked, and then the speculation of the results of that. Just as a very contemporary example. The way that we promote this goal is through the following activities: artistic workshops, classes, open mic nights, editing, content creation, publishing, production, and fortune administration. Does anybody have any questions about that?
No.
Excellent. All right. This was supposed to say nonprofit status at the top, but it doesn't. It does up in the corner, but it doesn't say it where it's supposed to be. So sorry about that. But the nonprofit, we as a nonprofit are dedicated to serving the artistic community. A nonprofit is an organization that does do everything that a regular for-profit business does. However, it has made the investment and has made the promise to continue to like reinvest any excess money not used to run the nonprofit business or the nonprofit assembly, which is what we are. We are an unincorporated assembly. Like reinvest that money into the corporation or into the nonprofit, the excess money that is not used to run that, as in pay for things, buy things to use it, or run any of the grants or other such things, like gets either like does not exist. So it either becomes something that is incorporated into the nonprofit, or it is donated, or in our case, it is given as micro grants to the members. So that's how the profit share works, is that whenever we have excess profit or the profit, it gets reinvested into the members through what is essentially a micro grant. So that means that our reinvestment is that all of resources and income are reinvested into the organization versus sitting in a bank account or like being like used to help fatten somebody's pockets. The way that we will do this is through grants, events, and production like fortune administration. Any questions about this?
No.
Excellent. Okay, membership categories. Artistic membership. The benefits of being an artist here at the Fiction Forge include workshops, networking, event recordings. So like if you can't come to the events, you get the recordings of the events, and a lot more around that. So like having free classes or being able to host classes. However, it also includes the responsibilities of signing an annual contract, volunteering, creating art, and attending events. So in a sense, participating in the guild. Exhibiting membership is by invitation only at this moment. The additional benefits of being an exhibiting member include the opportunity to teach classes, lead workshops, and engage in fortune administration, which is essentially our version of publishing and or production. The responsibilities, however, are a little bit different from like what a member's responsibilities are, in that they have to do everything that the members do, like the artist members do, except they also have to like be an example of guild standards, as well as volunteer, actively create, and attend/lead events. Does anybody have questions about exhibiting membership or artist membership?
No.
Okay, our application process. So there are 3 parts of the application. Well, there's 4 parts of the application process total. There's the written application, which includes like questions that they have to answer, like essay questions, a video essay submission, and a portfolio submission. Before we get into the written application, we're going to talk a little bit about the review process. So the review process has an initial review, which is handled for the most part by Luch, me, and Drew. And then there's an initial interview process that is handled by Luch, a final interview process that is handled by me or Drew, plus one of the current exhibiting members or another director that is not one of the 3 of us. And then it concludes with an induction ceremony, which is like a contract signing, as well as a welcoming ritual. Before we dive into the application, any questions about that?
No.
Okay. No. Sorry, I didn't know it was going to make me log in. Bro. Okay. One sec. One sec. One sec. Yes, it's me. You should already know that though. Okay. No. Do you guys see how fast my internet is? Anyway.
I see
All right.
Sam
Sam
has a
has a
question.
question.
Yes, Sam.
Hey,
Hi.
so, and it's okay if I was just gonna hold this until the end, but that was like, since you were logging in, I was like, oh, I'll go ahead and ask now. So if you want to answer it at the end, that's really cool. But I wanted to ask about like how, because like I like the like specification of folklore, and I think that's really cool to have as a focus, and I like it a lot. I just wanted to ask like how like our stories, like mine and Miro's and yours, like how do we word how that fits into folklore for whenever it comes to like our participation in like fortune administration when we go through like the publishing process and so on and so forth. Like if somebody asks like, oh well, how does like, you know, your fantasy fiction novel Sam fit into like folklore? Is it because of like cultural folklore? Is it because it's like LGBTQ plus, or like what's your thoughts on that and your like thinking?
Okay, yeah, sure. So to answer your question, I've gone ahead and like pulled up the definition of folklore, and this is just simply to like help break it down a little bit within the context of your question.
Yeah.
So like as folklore is defined, it is defined as the traditional beliefs, customs, and stories of a community passed through generations by word of mouth and or written literature, or it's a body of popular myth and beliefs relating to a particular place, activity, or group of people. So in your particular example, like specifically in your novel, Sam, a good portion of your novel takes place in like Louisiana, specifically like the deep south of New Orleans. And so like because it takes place there, the story that you are telling is building upon the folklore that is already existing in New Orleans. Like you're just looking at it through a different lens.
Oh.
Miro's more recent novel, is it called will you tell me what it's called, Miro? I want to say it's The Long Road, but I know that's not it. And if you're typing in the chat, I cannot see it.
The Lost Road.
The Lost Road. The Lost Road, 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 the Lost Road. Okay. So the Lost Road, like, even though it necessarily is not, like, from where it's at in its development stage right now, like, we don't know too much about, like, the setting and, like, where it's happening. However, the main character being Apollo and being the hero of the story is building on, like, Greco-Roman folklore and mythology. In my case, if we look at the, like, Millennial Life of Heathstroke Mason jar, it's literally building on the folklore of being a millennial and, like, what that looks like, even though it is, like, working within the context of satire. So it's just really important to note that, like, folklore here is being used in its, like, absolute broadest sense. When people think of folklore, they almost always think of, like, kitschy, like, art, when that is not, or, like, something that's happening in the past, when that is not really what folklore is. And just to expand again, like, using the Wikipedia definition versus the, like, Merriam-Webster dictionary definition, folklore is a body of expressive culture shared by a particular group of people, culture, or subculture. This includes oral traditions such as tales, myths, legends, proverbs, poems, jokes, and other oral traditions. It also includes material culture such as traditional building styles, beliefs, clothing, and customs, initiation rites, dances, weddings, and, like, ritualistic celebrations such as Christmas. So, like, folklore here is being used to accentuate the creation of new culture and the preservation of the current culture that is being created. And I know that it's going to sound crazy, but, like, Nick Cage, as we were just discussing it, we are discussing it as a folklore concept because Nick Cage is a folkloric hero in some ways. So, like, that is kind of, like, how it is in that sense. And also, something else particularly about your novel is you are also building and reinventing, like, the culture, specifically the folkloric culture that surrounds, like, druidism and, like, being a druid and, like, the religious and spiritual practices of druids, if I am explaining this in a way that is digestible.
Yeah, that makes sense. I also wanted to ask you specifically about, like, how like a Mage's Rage specifically, it's two, like, not straight women, and, like, it's very heavily, like, on, like, in the LGBTQ plus community. So would that kind of count as, like, LGBTQ plus folklore in a way, since, like, folklore
Yes.
bases around a community? Cool.
Yes. And, like, especially if you are utilizing, reinventing, or building upon already existing, like, LGBTQ tropes, whenever it comes to relationships. And it doesn't have to be an exact modeling of that as much as it is, like, a referencing to that. So, like, something that is, like, really pushed back against in the queer community currently in contemporary literature is, like, gay torture stories, or, like, sad, like, closeted homosexual stories. Like, we want out and proud queer people with their queerness, like, being just, like, a part of who they are without it being, like, all that they are. And I think that your characters within A Mage's Rage would be able to, like, be a good example of, like, two characters falling in love with one another without their, like, homosexuality, like, being the entirety of their being. And I think that that is something that's really, like, evolving in, like, queer subculture right now. And I think that, like, if it's a cult classic, that, like, from a folkloric standpoint, like, we would be able to then examine it through the current contemporary lens and be able to see the subcultures of, like, queerness within the context of your novel and how it's, like, pervasive even, like, within the depths of, like, your magic system and the way in which magic is, like, working in your world.
Period. Okay, cool. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. No problem. All right. So, just because we talked about a lot, does anybody have any follow-up questions about that?
9.
That was a affirmative to go, correct? I can see you currently, Drew.
Oh, affirmative.
Okay, cool. All right, so this is what our Fiction Forge Guild application looks like, guys. So we start off with, like, the email, preferred name, and pronouns with their birthday and their time zone, and, like, they have to agree that they live in North America, because we only are focusing on North American folklore. So they can live in, like, Mexico, But like South America, if they live in South America, that's a no. Like they can live in like Canada, but if they live in France, it's a no. Like you have to be in North America. So these are laid out membership requirements. You have to, one, reside in North America, two, demonstrate a passion for creating folklore that draws upon culture and geography of the land that's created upon, which is where we kind of like break down into the fact that like it has to be influenced by the place and space that you are in. So like, for example, we would not necessarily accept a novel that is being written by an American, but is taking place in Europe, because that is not North American folklore. It can be influenced by like religious sects outside of North America, but it would have to take place there for the most part, or in a realm that is like completely fantastical. Okay. And then you have to agree to abide by the Fiction Forge Code of Conduct and Membership. I will be adding that on here, and I will also be adding like a disclaimer about how the information is going to be used here. They have to agree to the membership terms, and then they have to submit a video essay. And the reason why I'm showing you guys this, to be clear, is because we will all be doing this for our mock membership like interviews, so that we can get comfortable doing this, so that you guys kind of know like what you're going to be expected to review and then like also do. So like the video essay, like you have to submit a video essay articulating your passion for your craft, your understanding of the Fiction Forge mission, and how you intend to contribute to the guild. The minimum is 3 minutes and the maximum is 7 minutes. And we kind of discussed about the hard, like fluctuating a little bit, but mostly like a hard limit around 7 minutes. So like if you can't follow basic instructions, probably not the place for you. We need to have at least one reference, just in general, to confirm that you exist. So just like give us one reference to prove that you're a person that has at least one person outside of the guild that you talk to and knows that you exist, simply because the guild is not a sustainable place at this time to be able to handle someone who has absolutely no support system. They need to have at least one person. It could be their mother, it could be their grandmother, it could be their boss at work. I literally do not give a fuck, but just one other person. So the portfolio, you can either submit it as like a document or like a link to the portfolio. So it's a curated body of work that best represents your abilities within your chosen mediums. It could be an excerpt from a novel, separated short stories, a collection of poetry, individual artworks, music, songs, or a multimedia collection. It's just for the application process. We're not going to keep it. And then we move on to like the written portion here. And so these are some of the questions that we want them to like answer for us. So like, have you ever been featured in a public work or exhibition or any collaborative projects? We ask this not because it matters if they have been published or not, but more so we can understand whether or not they have done collaborative work before and get an understanding of like what their collaborative work is like and like what that's like for them in the collaboration process. So like the next question is, how do you describe your relationship with feedback and critique as an artist? Just because we do give a lot of feedback and we give a lot of like, we receive a lot of feedback and we give a lot of critique here. So like, we want to understand kind of like how they handle that, so that we know going into the interview and into like the discussion, what sort of like energy they bring to like feedback and critique here, because that's like the most detrimental part of the work that we do. If someone's not good at accepting feedback or giving critique, like that can be very damaging to a young artist or a new artist or someone who's like trying to branch out into this, because like it's a very sensitive form of work. And so if like they're not good at receiving or giving, it might not be great to have them around a bunch of people who may or may not become insecure about their work. And that's fine, but like it's just a matter of trying to continue to create and curate a safe space. And so then we have, what do you hope to gain from membership in the Fiction Forge, both personally and professionally, as well as please tell us a story about something that you love. Because again, something that keeps us all connected here at the Fiction Forge is a love of storytelling, no matter what the medium is. And that is also the essence and like root of folklore, is like what story is being told and the preservation of the stories being told. So we want to hear from them like a story about something that they love, or a time that they were loved or something like that. Does anybody have any questions about this document?
No.
Excellente. All right, membership expectations. Active participation. contribute creatively to the guild, collaborate with other members, attend meetings and events regularly, maintain Forge values, and volunteer in your community and commit to your personal growth, as well as pass the standards review. Like I said, the document will be given to you guys, and I will go through and highlight the places that I think are the most important to review, because while I am reviewing this with you, I do want you in your own time to look through the document, because it does specify how many meetings and events need to be attended by the members in there. Membership dues again. So annual renewal is the 31st of December. Future fees, it's going to be either $10 per month or $120 annually. So they can pay for the whole year or they can pay $10 per month. We do offer a 50% refund if they withdraw within the first 6 months, but that's only available for annual only. So if they do $10 per month for like their participation in like connection to the guild, we do not offer a refund on that, but we do offer a refund on the year. Any questions about that? All right. Standards and reviews. So the Artistic Standards Review, or the ASR, is an annual review for artistic members. Exhibiting members get tri-annual reviews. So every 3 years, we kind of put them up to the same test of measure. And then the reason why we do this is really just like as a general quality check to make sure that like people are doing the work that they say they're doing, and they can produce and give to us work that has not already been made. So like in that year, like we need to see some sort of like addition on to their portfolio from the year before, as well as to make sure that it continues to remain relevant whenever it comes to like North American folklore. Okay. Fortune Administration. The services of Fortune Administration include encouragement, co-writing, workshops, editing, design, ARC distribution, and publication. We also have, whenever it comes to the availability, it's free for members who are a part of the guild, but if there's an external client, they have to pay. The payment structure, as always, is profit share between the artist and the guild members. Anybody that participates as an employee on Fortune Administration is paid ahead of time for their time. And these things are planned and booked 5 months in advance. Much like how we're like, let's get started on like doing some of the work now for like Miro's book next year and for Sam's book next year, like wanting to prepare for next year. We're giving ample advance notice that like we're going to need editors soon, and like when it's time to start editing, like we'll let you guys know, and those sorts of things. Any questions about that?
No.
Okay, cool. Thank you, Drew. And now onto the governance structure. Currently, we have our board of directors consists of the guildmaster, the assistant guildmaster, and the guild aide. I'm the guildmaster, Drew the assistant guildmaster, and Luch is the guild aide. Our respective positions are equal amongst one another, meaning that like not one of us has more power or less power than the other. This goes for whenever it comes to the board of directors. It is simply that our responsibilities are different, and the way that we show up to run the guild is a little different. Like Luch kind of acts like a go-between and a planner and a note taker. Drew acts very much like me, except also like providing like support for where I cannot do things, and whenever it comes to making like finalized decisions and stuff like that where I'm not able to. And then as like the guild master, I just kind of like guide y'all in general in the direction, and like at times make decisions for the guild as a whole. Any questions or concerns about that?
No.
Okay. It says governance structure at the top, but it's not supposed to. It's supposed to say meetings. So our meetings, our regular meeting, there's 3 different types of meetings, okay? We have regular meetings, which are first, second, and third Tuesdays of the month. And then we have like our special meetings, which are emergency meetings, votes, and team building activities. Regular meetings, the first, second, and third Tuesday of the month, are in this order: mission assignments, workshop, check-in. We are in our check-in right now. The 4th Tuesday of the month is a special meeting that is held every month, and it is a team building exercise. When it comes to the 2nd and 4th Tuesdays of the month, I think we decided that it needs to be about half time. So like you need to show up at least 6 months for like every other month. So at least 6 of those 2 meetings, because they are a little bit more optional. The second and fourth meeting, that is, like the one where we're having fun and we're doing work, because maybe you don't want to work together, but like just to continue team building and participating and fostering an environment of creative growth, like the second and fourth Tuesdays of the month, while they are optional, you are required to be there half time. So however you want that half time to be, that's up to you. You can do 6 months in a row and then 6 months off every other month, or like coming every single time and then, sorry, let me rephrase that. Or joining and participating in the meetings every month, and then anytime that you're just really not feeling it, calling off. And whenever it comes to voting and governance in general, quorum requirements. A quorum is the majority president, like majority amount of people needed to make decisions. And something that we have agreed on is 2/3. That's how it's been since that last vote we had about how many people need to kind of be there for a meeting to make it work. So 2/3 of the people need to be in agreement for something to come to pass, regardless of how many people are there. However, a minimum amount of 3 people must be present for a decision to be made. So you have to have at least 3 people to be there. But on the other side of that, like if there are more than 3 people, it's 2/3 of the people in the room for a decision to be made. Are there any questions or concerns about that?